but I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until
Good morning and welcome to the 48th Breakfast Ball. Wow, we're 4 short of 52, which is cray-cray. I'm your host, Bob Cardia, and back from his hugely successful European tour. No, actually, he was in Asheville visiting family, which, again, I give a shout-out to everybody in Asheville each week. But it's the dashing Richie Stoltz.
Yes, and just to clarify, I wasn't in Asheville. I was in a different
Visiting
part of
family,
the
yes,
state.
where your family's now located now, right?
That's where they live. That's
Yeah.
where my family is. But we went to my aunt's in Princeton, different part of the state.
Different part of the state. Okay.
I did not go to Asheville.
But you were visiting family.
I was visiting family from that area.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got to be accurate. Yes, but his family was directly impacted by the storm. So, how are they doing, by the way?
They're good.
Good,
They're
okay.
good. Their chickens are alive. House is good.
Gotcha.
Roads are getting rebuilt. So
Okay.
that's good.
My chickens are not
My
alive
mom-
since I don't have chickens.
My mom's very aggravated because people are now going to the donation zone and apparently taking stuff to sell over in
Yeah,
Tennessee.
you were telling me some guy took like a shopping cart full of Matchbox cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was gonna try to sell them on online. Like rather than letting kids have Matchbox, he was gonna try to sell them online. But your mom busted them, right?
Yeah, and she, I think, yesterday, said something to somebody about, having people, trying to get people to stop doing it because people are going in there grabbing, like, the most expensive stuff, like generators and stuff like that, and taking those and selling them now.
Yeah,
So
word.
it's ridiculous. That's crazy to me.
Everybody, well, you know what? That's
Instead of the people that need it, you're going to try and make a couple dollars off of it. Ridiculous.
hey.
But that's mine.
That's terrible.
That's mine.
Anyway, yes. So Richie's back. So let's all be joyful that occurred. Okay. So well, you weren't here last week, but you know what happened. I actually did the podcast on Sunday night after round one of that invitational we're playing in last week for Rutgers, and I promised I'd keep you guys all updated on how we did. Yeah, no. We were 6 shots out of first going into the final round, and we ended up 8 shots out of first. But the same thing occurred, and like I said, it happens. I mean, we had players that were 2-3 over with a few to play. I mean, I'm looking. It was live scoring, so I'm looking at it, and I think we were 5 shots out of first with 5 to play, and we were 4 or 5 shots up on second, and probably 8, 9, 10 shots up on third. And the boys, and I love them all, and they know this, and I wouldn't say anything to you that I wouldn't say to them. Yeah, they went down faster than the Titanic. I mean, they just, they again, what I have to realize and how I have to coach, and that's where I take accountability in this, is we have no seniors.
Mm-hmm.
We have a young team that when they play well can do some damage. Like, if you ask me, I think that we're at the top of that field in terms of talent. I mean, not far and away. I mean, there's a lot of good players there, but like I've seen our practices. Like, we can shoot, close to 300 when we're playing well, and we had that within us again, and we didn't realize it. So, going back to Dr. Lair, when I start struggling and look for answers, I typically look for experts like Valente and Rotella and Lair, the guys like that work. I like Lair, and you guys know a lot lately because he worked with athletes of all sports and Olympic athletes and whatnot. So, like, I'm going to quote Lair first thing this morning. I think the title of today is "Do Your Homework." Okay, and I think that's where we need to be as a team. So the quote is, "You can decrease your chances of encountering significant underactivation problems during a performance if you work to get things right before you perform." And I think, trying to implement, the stuff that you and I talk about with them during the round, as opposed to practicing it in life and during practice rounds, is probably not very practical, right? So I think that we need to start preaching more of, not only in sport, but in life, try to work on this stuff. Because I think he talked about Nolan Ryan, the pitcher. First pitcher for the youngsters out there. Richie, how do you know Nolan Ryan again, by the way?
I have about 6 of his baseball cards. Somewhere. I don't know where. They're somewhere, but I have them.
All right. Well, at least you know who he is. That's the first step. So Nolan Ryan was the first pitcher to ever throw over 100 miles an hour. But he was a power pitcher. But let me tell you what, he was nasty too. Like he was a tough dude, and his career lasted forever. And Larry talked about that a little bit. He had the ability to be, like Bruce Lee said, mentally acute, mentally engaged, and focused, but also physically, in control of his self, and that's why his career was able to last as long as it did. So, I got to go with wisdom from the past. Samurai. Okay. You ever seen the movie Last Samurai, by the way? No. Not bad, actually. I kind of liked it.
I don't watch a lot of movies.
I used to watch movies, but I still do it.
I watched the second Beetlejuice recently.
Okay.
It was interesting.
Here's the thing. A lot of old movies. So this is what, as you know, I don't always sleep that well. So for years, rather than I would sit there and read, and then I get tired. And then there was, I think it was TNT, had movies for guys who like movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I've probably seen Die Hard 4 or 5 times. Crocodile Dundee. The Last Samurai was on that rotation for a while. So I've probably seen The Last Samurai 2 or 3 times. It's pretty good. I'd recommend it. But anyway, I digress. The thing with The Last Samurai, or samurai in general, is like our guys are worried about, basically choking, like, the bogey, the double bogey, the triple bogey coming down the stretch. And as Lara says, if you put it in perspective, okay, samurais dealt with life or death every day. Every day. Like, am I going to die today? When you look at it that way, like, is the double bogey really that bad? Okay. Just saying. So, basically, they had a simple concept, an edict, if you will. Proper mental control or die. That was what the samurai had. Mm-hmm. So, cornerstones of mental conditioning, or what we've talked about in martial arts and in any motor skill type of thing. It's they divided it into 2 basic concepts: being centered and dynamic energy. Now, being centered, the core, like the heart, the center of the abdominal muscles, that's the center of their universe. But in a more holistic way, it's a perfect balance between physical, mental, and spiritual. Okay, it's basic harmony is what it is. Mm-hmm. So now, what you said many times in the past, when you came here, you had one before, okay, mm-hmm. and then you got here, and we have a very, very structured format that we do for Rutgers with the meetings and the practices and whatnot. Is there anything that helped you get to that physical, mental, spiritual level, or how would you define being centered in your world? And when did you, if anything, did you? Is that a good word for you?
Well, let's start with this. I was talking to Sonny the other day, and I do have a bone to pick with you.
What did I do?
All right. So I just want to let you guys know this. When I was at Rutgers, he actually didn't allow me to be a team captain. Why is that?
You're a Cowboy fan?
No.
Was it, well, we had criteria, we had academic, all that kind of other stuff. What?
It was you had to be there for 2 years.
Oh,
and I
we
only
changed
had
it.
2 years left.
Well, we don't have upperclassmen now, so I had to change it to 1. You had to be their second year. You had to be at least a second year player.
Sonny, who I love, is a sophomore as a team captain.
Okay.
That's my bone to pick with you. Anyway, ask me the question again. I'm sorry. Sorry, you said something about
Richie
structure.
Is bitter and resentful.
You said something about
Yes,
structure.
I said, when did you first realize? Because when you started winning, I gotta all right. You gotta start winning. When did you feel like you started to achieve that degree of physical, mental, and spiritual harmony? And is that accurate? That you felt more centered in your own skin when you started to win?
Yeah, once I won that first tournament, from that point on, I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
So then from there on out, and this kind of goes back to the
that created
the quote,
a calm,
I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, it created a calm because before then I was always stressed out about I should be able to win. Why am I not winning? Mm-hmm. So now that I won, it was like, okay, I know I can do it. Now I have to make sure I do it every time.
Yeah.
And one of my thought process in that was I want to make sure that my worst day is better than everyone else's best day.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the things I always worked towards for the team was, if I practice enough, if I play poorly, I'm still going to beat you. And I felt like there was a couple tournaments where I did that too, where
Yeah.
I played pretty poor
Well,
and still ended up winning.
that's Jack Nicklaus. Great golfers play bad golf well.
Yeah.
No, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we discussed it before, and I don't. I know both you and I have tried it, and when we had Spencer Broad here, they say that, as discussed before, a prerequisite, for reaching your full potential, is being able to center, which is basically to get their breathing techniques. It's actually systematic breathing techniques and some kind of meditation. And I think your meditation is more of a like a visualization type meditation. Is that?
Yeah, I do the stare at a point on the wall. That's
Yeah.
that's the meditation.
Like you had with Annabelle, the unicorn. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think because when we had Spencer here, like it's not all sitting Indian style and in home. There's quieting your mind, but learning to breathe. Like we talked about last week, it's cool when you read this stuff or when you study this stuff. Like the average person breathes 14 to 16 breaths a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Lair had these guys slowing down and doing 3 or 4 breaths a minute comfortably. So basically, they're now almost in a meditative, centered state. I don't know if you could do that while you're walking and swinging, but he talks, even the exhale, like exhaling releases pressure. And he said the best athletes in the world try to time the release of their activity with the exhale, and that's definitely what weightlifters do for sure. So once you get there, okay, once you can feel yourself, getting the core, centered, spiritually, mentally, physically. He said that's when, and this is kind of what you just said, unknowingly, unwittingly. Once you get to that, in martial arts, then they say they can release what's called dynamic energy, and that's the way, basically, to get beyond your ordinary limits, leading, and this is Lair, leading to genius, potential excellence, and fulfillment. And I talked about archery, like keeping the core right, quiet, centered, and being able to and to stay still. And when you can control your breathing and can control your core, right, then that's when you can release your full potential. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would you say, like, in your pathway to that, once you got yourself more centered, you were able to release a better version of yourself, thus dynamic energy?
I guess. I mean, I was just more comfortable, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just working on breathing at the time as well. Making sure I breathe slower. Like you said, how hitting a golf ball and walking, you might not be able to slow down the breathing that much.
Yeah.
You can still slow it down.
Yeah.
You can still slow the breathing down. So it's, just because you can't slow it down as much as 3 to 4 breaths a minute, if you're just sitting there. Like, yeah, you might
I haven't
not be able
tried
to
it
do
yet,
that,
to be
but-
honest with you. I worked on breathing drills before, but I have not tried to slow it down to 3 or 4 breaths a minute. I think that might be challenging, but that might be something I should do.
I'm sure it's honestly not that hard when you're just sitting there. He's trying.
Yeah, I was just doing one. I'll time it later, folks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot too later and just see if I can do it. But obviously walking again, swinging. If you ever see the heart rates that they put up on the PGA Tour sometimes,
Yeah.
It gets up to like 120 beats per minute while they're swinging and after the shot, and they're going to be breathing a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to slow that down on the way to your next
In
shot
between,
is very important.
Yes. Yeah. And that's there's all kinds of golf is interesting too, because I know pace of play became a huge issue at our home Invitational, and then I get at this one this past weekend, because you can't play in over 5 hours. So I tell the guys, well, to move as concisely and as almost briskly as you can between shots, and then take your time on your shots. But that also requires a degree of physical training. Like people don't realize, the better physical shape you're in, the easier it is for you to get to your golf ball faster. The easier it is to reset yourself in your breathing. It's all tied. And even we'll talk about pre-shot routine at some point again. And if you have a very specific, definite, finite pre-shot routine, that can also help you with your breathing and your core. because your mind isn't racing. Oh, what am I going to do in this shot? What am I going to do in that shot? Um, you know, the layer thing he says is, when the mind becomes, and this is samurai too, okay? So when the mind becomes distracted by circumstances of combat, and we're going to consider playing golf at this point our combat, all is lost. So when you start focusing on things that distract you, okay, then yeah, all is lost. And I think I know you talked to Glenn, I talked to Glenn. And Glenn, he's like, I got there and I started, worrying about basically, do I belong at this spot? And like, if you got there, you do. And the fact that you're here, you do. So, being able to understand, where you are and your potential, as opposed to what happens if I mess this up, is huge, huge. Because what happens when you mess this up is a distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, anyway, I love talking to you about this kind of stuff, and it all starts and ends with, if you want to get to the dynamic energy, you got to know what keeps your mind working. So again, today is do your homework. So if you can work on some of the stuff we discussed, like trying to get down to 3 or 4 breaths a minute while you're just sitting in a cold, quiet, calm place, or if you want to work on the tension drill we talked about 2 or 3 episodes ago, where you tension different muscle groups and let them go. Like, that's all stuff you should practice while you're not on the golf course. Now, once you're on the golf course, yeah, practice it then too. Yeah. But do your homework before. Don't just throw it out there like, oh my gosh, I'm 1 under with 9 to play. Now let me do coach's techniques. Like, that's not. It's probably too late at that point, right? Because that's almost a distraction at that point. It's like, yes. Last week we talked. I talked to you via telepathy. The thing was, Lair says, when you're playing well, don't think about breathing. When you're playing well, just stay in your lane. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. I don't know if natural is the right word, but if you practice it, it'll just be a habit.
Becomes second nature. Yeah.
Yes, you'll just naturally do it. You'll naturally breathe better. You'll naturally breathe slower. Again, anytime you think about something other than the shot you have to hit, it's a distraction.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Next thing, cool. I'm looking forward to this. We got a call from Athletics yesterday. KYW News Radio in Philadelphia, which is the largest AM station, I believe, in Philly. They have their own podcast, and they asked me to come on and be a guest. So I get details for that, folks. I'll let you know. So and then we have a couple really, really good guests coming up. So looking to broaden the horizons, guys. Expand the you got to keep growing, right? I had a quote this past staff meeting was, you always want to put yourself in a position you're uncomfortable, because that's when the greatest growth occurs. Yeah. Anyway, subscribe. If you put in the comment section, I love the breakfast ball, we will put you in the drawing for a Starbucks gift card. So please put I love the breakfast ball in that comment section. And again, our store is open if you want to buy breakfast ball attire or South Jersey Golf School attire. Actually, my buddy Darby bought 3 Nike, 3 or 4 Nike South Jersey Golf School quarter zips.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got 3 more people out there wearing the good stuff. Anyway, did I forget anything? Do you want to add anything? Do you want to
I don't think so.
No.
I think we got everything.
I do. It's interesting because I want to discuss this further with you offset about, when you feel the transition. Because now you've set, of course, records. You've won multiple club championships, different places. When do you feel that transition between centeredness and what we call dynamic energy would be? I think if we really thin sliced it and looked at it, we could probably find it, when that started to occur.
Yeah, I'll tell you, for feeling centered, physical, practice correctly. Make sure you're putting the right practice in.
Attention and intention.
Do everything beforehand. Don't wait till the last minute. Get it all done. Try and be the best you can.
Yep.
Mental, work on your breathing. Try and build confidence. Spiritual, get right with God.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, just work on those things, and I'm sure if we split it up into a bunch of different things. There's I don't even know how many stories I can tell you of when I came back because I felt confident that I wasn't going to lose. You know, my watch this mentality. You know,
Yeah. Love that.
every tournament where I've almost lost but still won. Every tournament where I lost, where I, you know, felt like
Learned.
I've lost it mentally. You know, it's I can tell a bajillion different stories on stuff like this out on the golf. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I played or hit that many shots at least.
Yeah. Oh, there's my dog barking upstairs. So, anyway, folks, remember, if you get something out of this program and you end up being rich and famous, Richie, what happens?
We obviously get 10% of that.
10%. All right, my dog is now telling me the show is now over. Okay. Guys, we look forward to seeing you in the future. All the best. Till next week, I'm Bob Cardia.
The dashing Richie Stoltz.
Peace.
Glass of bourbon, ha ha. My bourbon, ha ha. My bourbon, ha ha. Alcohol. Because no great story ever started with, I'll have a salad.